Hello, this is the Insurance Perspectives podcast presented by HawkSoft. I am your host, Kenny Hendricks, and I am HawkSoft's Director of Partner Integrations. On today's show, we have Rob Bowen from Patriotic Insurance Group and Thomas Mann from Aureus Analytics. The goal of the conversations we have is to help you, the independent agent, learn more about technology partners in the space. We understand that there are many options in the industry, and we want to offer insightful interviews with companies and mutual customers to help you make your decisions. Thomas and Rob discuss how Aureus Analytics is useful in the independent insurance agency's understanding of their business and making informed decisions. We hope you enjoy the discussion and be sure to follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. On today's show, we have Rob Bowen of the Patriotic Insurance Group and Thomas Mann of Aureus Analytics. This is part one of our series on Aureus Analytics' business intelligence platform, DONNA. In part two, I'll give a full introduction to Rob, though we'll definitely hear from him throughout this episode too. Part one here will focus on getting to know DONNA and Aureus Analytics more and exploring their answers to our partner questions. With me and Rob today is Thomas Mann. He is Director of Customer Success at Aureus Analytics, a role in which he helps independent agents understand how Aureus Analytics' DONNA platform can help them make better informed decisions. Thomas has a breadth of experience in the insurance space, including as an agent in his home state of North Carolina. That might have been a subconscious pun, as Thomas worked for the Farm Bureau at one point. And since I drafted up some segues into the main part, I'm going to riff a little, which I found out prior to the call Thomas enjoys doing as well, having played guitar for a number of years. But here's a more conscious pun, considering that Thomas also enjoys scuba diving. Let's dive in. And then my notes actually say hold for applause, so I think everybody's going to really enjoy that one.
With an intro like that, Kenny, this is going to go splendidly. You're off to the races, brother.
I don't know how to interpret that one yet, but we like a consistent form in this show, so we have our partner questions that I'm going to ask you now. The first one really hits on the company's story, which is really important to HawkSoft. So, Thomas, easy one right off the bat. Why does Aureus Analytics exist? If I put that another way, what is its reason for participating in the independent agency channel?
Well, I think, Kenny, that is, while maybe an on-the-nose question, right? I think it's an important one. And I think ultimately it's because we want to empower agencies, right, to have the same advantages and the ability to kind of move our industry forward, right, that other verticals have. And what I mean by that, Kenny, I think is I know Rob and I have talked about this a number of times. And Kenny, I think you would agree, given your position at HawkSoft, insurance as a vertical is one that has long needed to play catch up in the tech sector, right? I mean, we had other, even kind of similar or adjacent industries far outpacing our speed of integration and the tools available there. So, specifically in the IA channel, it's a microcosm in that every independent agency, even if they're a very small shop, Kenny, is touching a lot of things, right? And there are a lot of moving parts. So as such, the way we can help them use things like big data, analytics, machine learning, AI, right? All of this is kind of very new in our space that is not necessarily new across the business world.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, we're looking, Kenny, at Aureus to bring the capability of much larger organizations to every type and segment of organization. And that's something, Kenny, I think we've been quite thoughtful about in terms of when we look at, packages of DONNA. I mean, we're able to utilize that same kind of segmentation to meet an independent agent at whatever stage in development they're at. So that was perhaps, Kenny, a slightly longer one, but to give the competitive advantage. And, it's a stated, DONNA being our flagship software product, right? And that's what we're a partner for with HawkSoft, is it's stated purpose is really to help agencies make more money from their existing book of business, which is a very simple concept, and to do that through those efficiencies and advantages of technology that we haven't necessarily had in the past.
Excellent. So it's, put another way, you're, and you said it, you're bringing a formerly like kind of resource intensive, cost prohibitive technology that large organizations that have like whole data analytics departments, you're bringing that down to the agency level, where they can have kind of a more equal access to that type of function.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then, if you had to pick one aspect of DONNA that draws in and keeps customers, what would that be, and why does it hold on to them?
Oh, you're not going to like my answers to these types of questions, Kenny, because I'm not a pick one kind of guy.
Sure.
So you, you might have to get a couple here. I know Rob's cracking up at that one. He's like, "Yeah, Thomas, you could have just said you're long winded," but um, I I will say that um, if there's one aspect, or I'll try and narrow it, Kenny, to three. But first and foremost, there is something at the core of what we do that is proprietary to us, and that is something that we call, Kenny, the SentiMeter score.
Mm.
So that is a 0 to 100 metric for each of your accounts, both personal and commercial. How happy is this customer in real time with their client experience? So when I say in real time, you've got things like customer satisfaction scores, you've got things like NPS scores, which are useful data points, but they're time bound to how Kenny was feeling that last Thursday when he did the survey, right? So the
Sure.
following Thursday, it could already be outdated. So we're using that data model to give you a reliable metric that you can use to kind of benchmark how you're performing for your clients, and then use that, Kenny, to what would be my other aspect that keeps drawing customers back is the predictive model. So we
Mm.
use that centimeter as a data point, Kenny, to help the independent agent understand who is a likely retention risk, right, at the account level, who's likely to just pack up shop, help you smooth out your renewal process. So we are looking at what is the likelihood, if Kenny has these policies set to renew, that he actually follows through and renews those in this time bound element. And then where can I grow and use a what we call, predictive likelihood of, say, if Donna tells you that Rob needs a personal umbrella, if you call Rob and offer him that coverage, what's the likelihood that he takes it?
Mm.
So I would say the ability to use everything we talked about in that first question, Kenny, and bring in some of these larger resource intensive concepts and make them actionable at the agency level, and the ability to leverage those, which would be something we call data enrichment, outside data, Kenny, and that's probably
Mm-hmm.
one of the bigger kind of selling points for folks that aren't very familiar with what we do, and they hear, wait, so Donna could tell me that Thomas registered a boat in North Carolina, but we don't see one in their customer data. Ergo, we should sell Thomas a boat policy.
Gotcha.
So I know I stretched that one, Kenny, probably longer than you would have wanted,
No,
but
no, that's
I
perfect. And
think those are important.
I kind of want to dive into the centimeter score because you mentioned NPS, which I think is uh, a decently understood concept. Um, and it's I'm going to say decently understood, and then I'm going to say I'm pretty sure it's like a 0 to 10. And a centimeter score is 0 to 100, correct?
That's correct.
And so then I would assume that the higher that score, the better you're doing with that customer, or
Yes, sir. So the
the
closer
better
to
they feel.
100, absolutely. And Kenny, we just to take that a step further, we kind of coach agents, in the utilization of our platform around considering customers in one of three buckets, right?
Hmm.
So your 81 to 100 scores, those are your, promoters, right? Or your happy campers.
Mm-hmm.
Then your 61 to 80, that's going to be your neutral folks. They're
Okay.
not necessarily a flight risk or going to, say anything negative about your agency, but they're not, telling their friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then your 60 and below is what we would consider an unhappy client.
Gotcha. Okay. We're definitely going to dive more into that in part two, and we start talking to Rob about how he's using it in his agency. But I just can't resist the temptation to poke at Rob and ask what type of SentiMeter scores are you seeing come through? Do you agree with Thomas that it's one of those things that is keeping you using the platform?
Yes, 100%. The SentiMeter score gives me a data point to analyze my renewals. And by having, I'll open this subject up, DONNA knows, so now we have AI that I can actually start searching my database. Now I can literally sit there on a chat GPT type screen and start asking questions like, which are my bottom 10? Which of my carriers are my bottom 3? I tend to focus on the negative side of it, of what Donna's telling me, because those are the clients that we have to be careful of. And those are the clients right now in the markets we're in who will very quickly just start shopping and won't even tell us they're shopping. And all of a sudden we get a cancel form. I mean, we want to at least get a shot at them.
Yeah.
So that's, and all that data is being pulled from, basically HawkSoft at this point. And it's very interesting. The SentiMeter scores, you have to give it some time. Obviously, if you have 1 month of data, you're going to have some really screwy results, good or bad, but you give it time, and you give it a couple of years, maybe a year, 18 months, and you're going to start seeing how your clients are breaking out. And it does work. I mean, you look at it, you're like, oh my God, why are they at a 50? And as an agency owner, I'm not going to be involved in the day-to-day typically. I mean, I'm more involved than most, but I might miss something like, well, how did that happen? And I can go in and look and see where it went south. What piece of data caused the SentiMeter score to drop? Or was it ever even high? I don't know. So it allows you to look at it at a high level, which I love. But then when you see an outlier, I now can go in and figure it out. And sometimes, DONNA's only as good as the data it gets, right? There's a lot of other data outside of DONNA, which DONNA doesn't know about. And Thomas and I have talked about this before, but, I have people that buy and sell properties and keep flipping them. Well, to DONNA, that's awful.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
But I understand it. But again, it's a data point. So I look at it and go, oh, okay, that's my fix and flipper. That's an LLC. I'm not concerned. He loves me.
Gotcha.
But at least I go through that mental gymnastics of making sure that's a true statement.
Oh, fantastic. I think that insight is very important to agencies, especially in the idea of, okay, how do I cultivate my existing book? How do I grow this resource that I've already put a lot of time into and I already have good relationships, but where are the cross-sell opportunities? Where's the expansion, the room for expansion? Probably going to be extremely useful in a hard market. Definitely going to dive a lot more into functionality in part two. And I have no good segue for this middle question, which tends to be our hardest one, but I feel like you're very well prepared for it. HawkSoft, we have a very open position on data ownership. We put forward this belief that an independent agency owns the data that they produce. And so our customers tend to be those that share that feeling. And we ask all of our partners this. How does DONNA and Aureus Analytics approach data ownership with regards to your customers, the independent agent?
Yeah, Kenny, I think you guys would certainly be doing HawkSoft a disservice not asking this question, right? Because that is a core, belief of you guys. And for us at Aureus, I think you'll find, and obviously since you put us in the partner program, I think you guys think we have a satisfactory answer there, Kenny. So we are aligned, on that, in that the agency owner's data is theirs, right? I mean, that book of business is what they're working to build, and they should be able to do what they like with it. So a couple of points, we're not a data monger like organization. We don't you have the ability to, like, once you've used DONNA to filter and, get the likelihood of this segment of customers, you can download that yourself, right? And even use DONNA data points and have those natively on your machine. But I think this question touches, Kenny, a couple of things, and that is, I'll go ahead and address the elephant in the room for any tech company, right? I'm not selling Rob's data to Apple or Google or anyone else, right? We're not using any of your customers, PII, so personally identifiable information, or even less sort of damning information, right? Like less sensitive. So what we try and do, Kenny, is limit any of that we even bring in from HawkSoft. So like the most PII you would find in DONNA itself would be like a phone number or an email address, right? So fairly innocuous there. But additionally, we're not selling it. You own the rights. And the third piece, I think, is we're only even using, if you will, outside of your instance of DONNA, Kenny, aggregate customer data in terms of a feature of benchmarking, right? So we let you compare yourself anonymously to other agencies using the platform. So that is as far as we go in terms of utilization of customer data. And I think while you didn't directly ask this, Kenny, something that is another fork to this thread is data security. Absolutely. So I would, like to proudly mention that we have been SOC 2, which is a security standard, compliant for a long time. But last year, we actually got our ISO certification. So our ISO 2, this is a number right here. This is a long one, 27001:2013 spec. And for the non-super data nerds out there, Kenny, that is a level of data security clearance that is generally on par with what a lot of financial institutions would use. Absolutely. So most companies in our, type space would go further, right? Or excuse me, would not go this far, right? Like SOC 2 would be kind of close enough. So I feel like we have gone as a company further than your average tech partner.
Yeah, absolutely. And it, folks that have ever heard me talk about AI and machine learning, I firmly believe in what it will do to help the industry, but I'm extremely skeptical of what it takes to build those models. And throughout the entire process of working with Aureus Analytics and bringing DONNA in as an API partner, it's always been front and center, kind of the clarity in how data is used, the clarity in your security standards. You're absolutely correct. ISO is something that occasionally we'll run into with financial services, premium finance, payment services, because there's some financial regulatory things to consider. SOC 2 is the standard that HawkSoft tends to aim for. We are SOC 2 compliant ourselves. I appreciate the thoroughness of that answer. And I also like that you're upfront about it. Aggregate data is something that even HawkSoft, we have to recognize that, we wouldn't be able to talk about how our customers use our system if we couldn't talk about aggregate data. And I think that benchmarking is really important to the industry as well. Just be able to say, it's so hard to know, like, am I doing things right as an agency owner? And so a benchmark can help. This is these next two questions are my favorite, though we start with a risky position, especially with an agent on the line. But Thomas, you yourself have experience being an agent, working as an insurance professional, and so you probably have a rather unique perspective on this within the insurtech space. But for you, I so apologize. As a director of customer success, I apologize for putting you in this position. But what is the hardest part of working with insurance agencies?
Oh, well, Kenny, that's actually that's a very easy question to answer. There's no difficulty whatsoever.
You're full.
Oh, sure.
And I get a shot at answering this after you, by the way.
Yeah, I actually was going to tap Rob to answer this, but Kenny, I do think I'm more qualified than most, to answer that having been a member of several agencies myself. So, and fortunately, having Rob on the call actually, I think, will bolster this, because I think he would agree with me. There seems to be this highly contagious disease, Kenny, amongst agency principals, and that is shiny object syndrome. So it is always the, hey, we should try this, or let's, look at this, or have you heard about this? And what that does is they don't really get the maximum ROI, right? Or even fully implement the tools that either they've already purchased, they've done a trial of in the past. So I think what that leads to is kind of a surface level understanding of what they have access to. And I think what Aureus does, in a lot of these sort of larger scale concepts, Kenny, are already kind of something that you need a deeper, dive and discussion into. So I think all jokes aside, the most difficult part, and having been there myself, there are so many directions, and things going on in an agency that it becomes hard to focus in on, regardless of what that tool is. That's not, an Aureus answer or a DONNA answer. I think probably, Kenny, even you guys can relate to that with agencies trying to migrate to HawkSoft off another platform. So I would say, because an agency environment is fast paced and there are so many things they touch, focus on, an onboarding process or the implementation of something that they, even if they're really excited about it, getting the discipline there to get it to where I know they're going to get their best results from our platform or any platform.
Sure.
Rob, your turn.
Yeah, I was going to go the other direction, but no, I agree with you 100%. I said, but a lot of people, I think, are looking for that silver bullet. Mm-hmm. And I've had discussions with people about DONNA, and people just don't understand it. They see a cost, right? Technology is not an expense. That's the first problem with a lot of agencies, is that, well, what's my return on investment? It's almost an impossible number to come up with. Certainly for something like DONNA. Mm-hmm. And I think people expect, okay, if I sign up for DONNA, I'm going to renew at 100%, which is ludicrous. I mean, that would be nice, but that's not DONNA's fault either. Mm-hmm. And I think what people need to realize with a system like DONNA is, I said at the beginning, is it takes time, right? You need to feed the machine. One of the struggles in our industry, and everyone on this call understands this, is crappy data, awful data, right? So if my data is awful in HawkSoft and you're pulling it into DONNA, it's not going to work, right? If I'm not doing log notes, if I don't have all my clients in HawkSoft, I don't know where people's data is. I went to the master's degree of data about 3 years ago, and I came aboard with some people, and that was beaten into my head. And mm-hmm. What's happened now is I realized that everything I put in there is now going to end up in DONNA. It's going to affect that SentiMeter score, and I got to be careful what goes in. We have a lot of information going in, but I think agency owners need to get past the fact that there's an expense. Mm-hmm. They need to understand it, and they need to try to utilize it as much as they can. And because Thomas made a great point, it's, we buy this stuff, and I'm guilty of shiny object syndrome. I freely admit that. But, you probably have the ability in your office to do some of this stuff. DONNA is unique, in my opinion. No one's really doing DONNA. No one's doing this. There's people with NPS. But to do this the way it's done by Aureus Analytics, I don't think anyone else is doing it. And you have to understand what the limitations are. And a lot of times it's my fault. So think about the scenario. Hey, DONNA doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work because your data's awful, Rob. That's, points right back at me. So just my opinion.
No, and I appreciate that. And I'll circle back around on your shiny object syndrome when I get a chance to introduce you next week. But I appreciate that kind of honesty and reflection on the industry. I think it is something that we tackle a lot. One of the missions of this very podcast is, how do we create better informed consumers so that when they get that impulse, and you guys can see from the blur of my background, there's a lot of hobbies behind me. There is that impulse to be like, ooh, I need this new thing. I need that. This will be better. The silver bullet that Rob alluded to. But equipping people with the tools to say, okay, what does it actually take to, properly clean the rifle, round the chamber, that thing for your silver bullet? What does it take to actually learn how to use these things? I think that's a really good observation to make about a struggle. And it's a struggle in any technology space. And I think insurance agents, I will always say, are the busiest people that I know. The fact that I can get some time from Rob to get him on a call, he's always willing to take a call, but I know that he's probably missing calls from clients right now, left and right. So it is difficult. We always like to end on a happier note, though. And so my last partner question for Thomas is, what is the best part about working with insurance agencies?
So, Kenny, I think this one is probably even more, personal to me, and I alluded to this earlier. So, to give you a very pointed example, when I talked about us trying to catch up our space, right, and really put the tech in insure tech, um, as late as 2018, right, I had myself and peers quoting a BOP in a DOS-based platform. I'm talking black and neon, right?
Yeah.
So it is a personal point of pride to me in catching our industry up. So another point, Kenny, on that is that I grew up around insurance. Like, so my dad was a lifelong agent. That's how I got into the space, and as such, one of the best part of working with the insurance agents is the ability to drive that, right, and also give agencies what I call their aha moment. So whether that is helping them clean up bad data or understand how the SentiMeter can help them build a process, right, and they can use these predictive analytics, is really getting to a point where not only do they see value in our platform, but it's just obvious that you're helping them run their business better, take load off of their employees. That for me is something that I'm quite passionate about, and I'm a person, Kenny, having lived that and having a lot of friends even before getting in the insurtech space, that are agents, work for agents, or in the environment. It is, I love hearing all of those stories. How did we get here? Anytime we onboard a new client, they'll like, tell me about your team, tell me about, the agency story, and what are the business imperatives for you. And then being able to be a part of helping them deliver, for their team, for their family, for their customers, that, is something I quite enjoy.
Excellent. Fantastic. So we'd like to entice our listeners right now to come back next week for part 2. And we do that by bring Rob more full center on this with Thomas. And I would love if you guys could give just a little overview of how DONNA works with HawkSoft.
I'll start with that one then, Kenny. So the how, right, and I will just mention as a plug for HawkSoft. So you guys were one of our first integration partners, and still a standout while we connect with a lot of agency management systems. HawkSoft is one of the easiest to get going, both at the end user level and for us on the back end. So we've got that API connection available with you guys. You're able, as an agent, you come to our website, you tell us, hey, we want DONNA. You come in, you fill out your very short profile, and that cues us to start building your instance. They've turned that on, Kenny, in HawkSoft Marketplace, that data share, and they're rolling. And that actually, Kenny, allows us to get HawkSoft agents, on the platform. So if you sign up on this Tuesday, right by the following Tuesday, we can be having your walkthrough of the platform where we've already validated your data, got it from you guys, and we're rocking and rolling. So, I mean, I think that's somewhat of the tactical piece, but obviously for us, Kenny, while we're looking at a lot of data points to give you DONNA output, we always consider, your AMS data the kind of true north and the jumping off point. So as Rob said, the ability to read log notes, and factor that into SentiMeter disposition and get, client statuses and all of the information that we need to really effectively create the data we're going to help them use. That is readily available. And I know, Kenny, you and I have talked about this. We're looking forward to, expanding that functionality and what we can do as partners with HawkSoft 6 here as the year progresses. So
absolutely.
Was that, Kenny, kind of the what you were looking for there?
Yeah, absolutely. And then for Rob to add to that, in your like day to day, how does DONNA come up with HawkSoft?
We use it for as we are. Hopefully this answers your question. If not, correct me. But we use it as things are renewing. Gotcha. When we see right now in a hard market, we're seeing price increases. I'm in New York just for reference, so all the Florida and California people, I know you're dealing with something a lot worse than I am, but we're seeing increases, and the ones that go big, we need to, I do take a peek at the SentiMeter score. I have not implemented the process that Thomas and I talked about. I'm getting there slowly but surely, and I'll talk about that in the next episode. But I just take a peek at it and see what the issue is, see if there's any issue, see if there's something we need to address, or there's log notes that are out there that I just missed. Again, I'm not going to be part of the day-to-day service. So if I've got a client with a huge increase and they're calling all the time, but the other thing too that I found, and it's almost the opposite of what a SentiMeter score is this is a great opportunity to get rid of some clients.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So you have a client calling all day long, their SentiMeter score's down, my team, they're just one of those clients. We all have them. Well, this is my opportunity to maybe push them or not do anything and just don't poke the bear and just have them disappear. So, I can use it from a positive or from a negative perspective. We just had one the other day that kind of dawned on me. I'm like, God, the SentiMeter score's low. This person is monoline auto. They're not going to be cross-sold. Okay, we're not doing anything. So by DONNA and by tiering of our clients, now I can point my team in the direction they need to be, which are the higher tiers and the people with maybe low SentiMeter scores or lower. That we how do we get that score up? So you can use this both ways, which is really kind of cool.
That's fantastic, and hopefully that inspires our listeners to tune in next week to the Insurance Perspectives podcast, where we will have part 2 in our series on Aureus Analytics and DONNA, and we'll do a full interview with Rob Bowen, and Thomas Mann will return to join us as well. So with that, we'll cut to the outro. Thank you for watching today's episode. Click the video's description below to learn more about our guests and to view the latest podcast episode, as well as other content from HawkSoft. We appreciate you watching and hope you join us next time on the Insurance Perspectives podcast.